discover the amazing story of the king who defied God, and witness the fall of Nebuchadnezzar and the destruction of the temple. In the vast panorama of ancient history, few names resonate as strongly as that of Nebuchadnezzar. Heir to an empire that stretched across countless lands, he stood out from a young age for his strategic intelligence and insatiable ambition. Nebuchadnezzar, from a young age, demonstrated an extraordinary intelligence and an ambition that set him apart from the rest. Raised in an environment of war and intrigue, he learned from an early age that every decision could mean the rise or fall of entire dynasties. Determined to expand the horizons of the empire he would inherit, Nebuchadnezzar spared no effort to become the greatest military leader of his time. With a cold and calculating eye, he absorbed the lessons of history and applied them with almost ruthless precision in each battle he fought. His journey to power began in a time of intense battles and disputes, when the known world was in constant turmoil. Nebuchadnezzar, known for his strategic skill and determination, fought countless battles that established him as the greatest military leader of his time. His victory at the Battle of Carchemish against the Egyptians not only reaffirmed Babylon's supremacy, but also sealed the fate of a new era. Each confrontation was seen not only as an opportunity to defeat enemies, but also as a chance to expand his rule over even greater lands. The almost ruthless precision with which he conducted his military campaigns was admired and feared by his adversaries. His name became synonymous with power and respect, echoing through the halls of the palaces and battlefields of the time. Nebuchadnezzar, now firmly established as the supreme ruler of Babylon, turned his attention to the heart of his empire. With a grand vision, he envisioned a city that would not only symbolize his power, but would also become the cultural and economic epicenter of the ancient world. Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon was not just a city, it was a statement of power, a work of art built in stone and brick. The walls surrounding the city were so vast that many believed them to be insurmountable, serving as a demonstration of strength and security. Behind these walls, Nebuchadnezzar began a monumental transformation, molding Babylon into a metropolis that reflected his ambition and glory. What truly set Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon apart from other cities of the time was its fusion of military might and cultural splendor. He built temples dedicated to the Babylonian gods, their soaring towers reaching into the heavens, as if reaching for the deities themselves. The ziggurats, stepped structures that stood out in the landscape, were visual testaments to his devotion and desire to please the gods he believed supported his throne. Each brick of these buildings bore inscriptions extolling the king's name, ensuring that his memory would endure for generations. The grandeur of these buildings lay not only in their physical magnitude, but also in what they represented, the union of earthly power with divine favor. Nebuchadnezzar, in his eagerness to expand his empire, turned his attention to the kingdom of Judah, a small but significant territory in the Near East. Jerusalem, the capital of Judah, was known for its magnificent temple, a symbol of the faith and identity of the Jewish people. For Nebuchadnezzar, the conquest of Jerusalem represented not only a military victory, but also a demonstration of power over a devout and resilient people. In 597 before Christ, he besieged Jerusalem and captured King Jehoiakim, taking with him many of the city's nobles and artisans as part of a strategy to weaken the nation. Among the captives was the young prophet Daniel, whose presence would be crucial in the events that followed. Dissatisfied with Judah's continued resistance, Nebuchadnezzar returned in 597 before Christ to complete what he had begun. The final assault culminated in the destruction of Solomon's temple, an event that profoundly marked the history of the people of Israel. With the temple in ruins and the city sacked, Nebuchadnezzar not only conquered a territory, but also dismantled a national identity. For the Jews, this tragedy was a crushing blow, as the temple was the center of their religious and cultural life. The Babylonian captivity became a period of profound spiritual and cultural significance for the exiles who faced the challenge of maintaining their faith and identity in a foreign land. After the conquest of Jerusalem and the destruction of Solomon's temple, Nebuchadnezzar imposed strict rule over the people of Judah. The Jews exiled to Babylon faced a period of profound spiritual and cultural transformation. Far from their homeland, they found themselves challenged to maintain their faith and identity in a hostile, pagan environment. Many of the exiles sought solace in the scriptures and oral tradition, preserving their beliefs in the face of adversity. The Babylonian captivity became a test of faith and perseverance for the Jewish people, who found in unity and resistance a way to face the difficulties imposed by the powerful Babylonian Empire. The preservation of cultural and religious identity during this turbulent period is a testament to the strength and resilience of the Jewish people in the face of historical adversity. Nebuchadnezzar, in the midst of a night of solitary vigil, was haunted by an enigmatic dream that left him deeply disturbed. In the vision, he saw an imposing statue composed of different materials: gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay. Each material represented a powerful kingdom that would arise and succeed one another throughout history. The climax of the dream came with the image of a stone cut without the help of human hands that struck the feet of the statue, causing it to collapse completely. The stone grew until it became a mountain that filled the entire earth. Deeply intrigued and disturbed by the vision, Nebuchadnezzar summoned his wise men and astrologers to interpret the dream. However, none of them were able to decipher the divine enigma. It was only through the young prophet Daniel, one of the Jewish captives in his kingdom, that Nebuchadnezzar obtained the accurate interpretation of the dream. Daniel described each element of the vision and revealed its prophetic meaning. The different materials represented the earthly kingdoms that would rise and fall throughout history. The stone symbolized the eternal kingdom established by God that would prevail over all human empires. Faced with this divine interpretation, Nebuchadnezzar was confronted with God's absolute sovereignty over the destinies of men and earthly kingdoms. After the divine revelation of the dream of the statue interpreted by Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar experienced a profound internal transformation. Recognizing God's sovereignty over earthly kingdoms, the king was overcome by a mixture of amazement and reverence. His worldview changed, and he began to reflect on the purpose of his reign and his relationship with the divine. Impressed by the accuracy of Daniel's interpretation and the heavenly message contained in the dream, Nebuchadnezzar recognized the hand of God in his life and in the history of mankind. From that moment on, the king began to govern with a new perspective, understanding that his power and authority were granted by a higher source. His attitude toward his subjects and the empire changed. Instead of exalting himself as an invincible conqueror, he began to exalt the name of the Most High. This change was not only internal, but also reflected in his public actions. Nebuchadnezzar openly proclaimed that Daniel's God was the true sovereign over all the kingdoms of the earth, demonstrating humility and reverence before the Creator. His restoration to the throne was not just a return to power, but a second chance offered by God to rule with justice and wisdom. Nebuchadnezzar's reign became a living testimony to the transformative power of faith and humility before the divine. After Nebuchadnezzar's recognition of divine sovereignty and spiritual transformation, a new challenge presented itself in his journey. The once powerful and cunning strategist began to show signs of a terrible mental and spiritual decline. His mind, which had shone with cunning and strategic vision, was now clouded by shadows from the past. Disturbing visions and uncontrollable fears haunted his thoughts, leading him to a state of confusion and despair. Gradually, strange and erratic behaviors began to emerge, similar to those that had plagued him during his earlier years of madness. The pride that had once brought him to the brink of destruction seemed to have left scars deeper than anyone could have imagined. Nebuchadnezzar's decline was relentless, leading him to act like a wild animal once again, withdrawing from the court and the loyal subjects who had once served him with reverence. Consumed by mental darkness, he wandered the countryside in complete alienation, unable to rule or even recognize those around him. The nails that had grown into claws and the hair that had grown into feathers were outward signs of an even more devastating inner deterioration. The same king who had once been restored to sanity after living as an animal now found himself once again plunged into utter madness, unable to distinguish between the human and the bestial. His mind, worn down by unbridled pride, finally succumbed to complete insanity. Amidst this overwhelming madness, Nebuchadnezzar met his lonely death in fields far removed from the grandeur of his past reign. After years of living as a shadow of his former self, cut off from the grandeur of his past reign and plunged into an overwhelming mental darkness, Nebuchadnezzar met his solitary death in the distant fields of Babylon. Far from the royal halls and pomp that once surrounded him, the once mighty monarch succumbed to alienation and insanity. His subjects, who had once revered him as a god among men, now witnessed the tragic decline of a leader who defied divinity. Nebuchadnezzar's death marked not only the end of an era, but also the melancholy conclusion of a life marked by glorious achievements and profound humiliations. His mind, tormented by the demons of pride and arrogance, finally found peace in the obscurity of the fields where his greatness was lost forever. Nebuchadnezzar's legacy is a testament to the complexity of human nature and the relationship between earthly power and divine sovereignty. His life, marked by great achievements and profound humiliations, echoes the eternal conflict between human ambition and divine will. Nebuchadnezzar's meteoric rise to the throne, his unparalleled strategic skill, and his determination to expand the Babylonian Empire are all aspects that make him an iconic figure in ancient history. However, his tragic fall and subsequent spiritual redemption reveal the fragility of human power in the face of divine power. Nebuchadnezzar's legacy transcends the boundaries of time, serving as a timeless reminder of the importance of humility, faith, and the recognition of God's sovereignty over all things. Subscribe to the channel for more videos about fascinating Bible stories. Nebuchadnezzar's rise and fall remind us of God's sovereignty over the kingdoms of men. His life is a testament to the importance of humility before the Creator.